Mike Damergis here with Mike Richter. And Mike, about 20 million Ranger fans would be very jealous right now, sitting here talking to you. You know, it's almost been 20 years since you guys won the Stanley Cup. Do you believe it's been that long?
No, it goes by so quick, and I think we were talking about it before. You know, each team has their own identity, and we had a tremendous group of guys in '94 who ended up winning. And it looks that this team has their own identity. They have gotten to be a very close-knit group of guys. Of course, I'm not in the locker room, but you see the way they celebrate goals, you see the way they speak after games, they see the way they practice. And this group has really kind of created their own niche, how they're going to win. And, you know, it's not like they're going to go into the playoffs and people are going to wonder how they're going to do. They've been at the top of the league all year, so it's a really enjoyable team to watch.
As an outsider looking in, describe the Ranger fan.
The Ranger fan is as good as it gets. They're very knowledgeable and they're very passionate. That's the two things I knew. When I came out of University of Wisconsin-Madison, I did my first radio interview here in New York, and I mean, people are quoting me stats about myself that I didn't know, what my save percentage was and everything else. And I said, wow, you know, this is a really special place. I mean, there's a lot of people here, but they take their sports very, very seriously, and hockey in particular, a huge amount of passion. And perfect. I mean, hockey is a passionate game. So, you know, there's no bad place to win a championship, but this is the best place if you're going to win one.
Let's take us back to 1994, and you guys up 3-1. You went to Game 7. Talk about the emotion going into Game 7, and you had a 3-1 lead going into the third quarter. Yeah. Vancouver was striking back, and they gave a little scare to you guys. So take us back almost 20 years now. Yeah,
I mean, this Vancouver team was not considered a very strong team before the playoffs began, and that's the beautiful thing about sports and hockey in particular. It's really difficult to predict, okay? They went in there and they marched through the West and they gutted out. I mean, they won a couple in 7-game shootouts. They were really a team that would not go away. They might lose a game, they might lose a period, they might get crushed in a game, but they're going to come back at you. And so you know, that trend was pretty well established by the time we got to them. I think the advantage we had was home ice, and they had been traveling so much throughout the playoffs, and we had gone basically one plane flight down to Washington and back, but we had already played the Islanders and we had already played New Jersey, so we're in our own bed a lot, and we felt pretty well rested. You're not going to get through the playoffs or get to the finals without having a strip torn off you. So both teams, I think, were somewhat tired, but we really had the advantage in terms of travel. And so when we get up 3-1 in the series, we knew that they weren't going to be over. They beat us in Game 5, so that's fine. We'll go back in Game 6 and win. They really played probably their best game of the tournament in Game 6. They took it to us, and our veteran team at that point just said, you know, this is why there's a 7th game. This is why we worked all year to get the home ice advantage, and it really meant something coming back into our building. Yeah, we were up 3-1 going into that last period, made it 3-2, but we really kept our composure. If you look at that last picture where Mark Messier is losing it, it's a perfect, kind of a picture-perfect win of a face-off draw. You know, you get a guy like Craig McTavish and Steve Larmer because they're going to do the right thing under pressure, puts the puck in the corner, takes his man. You know, you see it in that photo. These guys were disciplined, and they really don't get rattled very easily.
And what did it feel like to hoist that Stanley Cup? An incredible feeling. I mean, you know the legacy of the Rangers not winning since 1940. Yeah. Describe it. Was it an out-of-body experience in some ways?
Yeah, it's tough to imagine how enjoyable that moment is. And I think what you start to realize is it is a process. You know, it started in training camp that year. We felt like we had something special. We started out as the Rangers did this year in Europe. We built the momentum through the year. We won the President's Trophy. We had a trade at the trade deadline when we were at the top of the league by a number of points. To lose some good friends, leave the organization, and bring in new guys, how was that going to disrupt the lineup? It didn't. It only enhanced it. So it wasn't that one moment of winning, which in itself, when the final buzzer goes off, you feel great. But it was that entire journey, and I can tell you that even while it was ending, you don't want it to. You want to lift the cup. You want to feel like you're on the top of the world there, and you do. But you don't want it to end because that feeling is pretty special.
And a couple of years later, something special happened again. World Cup MVP. Talk about beating Canada in '96.
Same thing. You want to perform to your best in those big moments, and that's a very large stage, international competition. You start in the summertime, so it's a really different feel. You're beginning the intense part of the journey right away, as opposed to training camp, 82-game season, then the playoffs. And it was amazing how after one or two practices, even the guys on the team were saying it's an all-star team from each of the 8 countries that are in there, and every one of them thinks that they can win the gold medal, and everyone rightly does think they should win the gold medal. These are really talented teams, and you play a Sweden, a Finland, a Russia, a Czechoslovakia. These are all great teams, and so there was no easy games there, and we were amazed how fast you went from getting the cobwebs out in the summer to playing at full speed right away. And that was some of the funnest hockey I've ever been involved in because of the quality of the competition. And it worked out perfectly. You know, we played Russia, we played all the teams and got to the finals against Canada, 3-game playoff series. One lost going into that final game in Montreal, and really just an enjoyable game for all of us. We again had a very close-knit team, and it's funny, it was a condensed schedule, guys playing from all over the league, some that were your friends, but some you didn't know, and boy, you get together and galvanize a close friendship in short time period, and we enjoyed ourselves. And I tell you, it started from a speech, I think, that Lou Lamoriello gave right from the opening day. He just came in there and said, "This is a privilege to be here. We're here to do one thing," and it really got everybody focused. And I have a lot of respect for Lou and the guys I played with.
And 2002 Salt Lake City Olympics, you played for a guy, Herb Brooks. Talk about that, and of course, going against Canada for the gold.
Very similar to a Mike Keenan, to a Lou Lamoriello. This guy's very focused. He knows exactly what he wants. I mean, he had won the gold medal in 1980, and here it is all those years later, and his passion, his motivation, his intensity hasn't diminished a lick. And I think to his credit, he knew that he had a very different scenario. He doesn't get a group of amateurs for 8 or 9 months. He gets a group of pros for 2 weeks. And how do you reach those guys? It's a very different group. You have to somehow get them to buy in short order and say, you know, we need you to be playing at your best at this moment. And I think it was a motivation for all the guys. I had hurt my knee the previous spring. He called me up when I was recovering after my operation, just said if there's anything you can do, anything that we can do to help you. But he also said, you'll see Madonna, you'll see Leach, you'll see the other guys on the team, have them do one more sprint, you know, one more little bit of work in order to get themselves prepared to play in this tournament. Because you're not going to go into a tournament like that and out. You're going to have to outwork people. You're not just going to go in there and say, we have more talent than the Canadians, we have more talent than the Russians. Everybody's got a top amount of talent. It's who's going to be the guy that wants it more. And he really cultivated that level of motivation in the team in 1980, and he did it again when we played.
So you got your Stanley Cup championship, you got your World Cup championship and MVP, you got your silver medal from the Olympics, and you decided to go to Yale. Explain that and how that happened, and what led you to doing that?
Well, you know, the tough part about sports is that it's going to end sometime for you, right? We all played, and it's no different whether you're ending in high school, college, or the pros. I mean, you love to play the game. You're playing it because you love it. And at some point, someone taps you on the shoulder and says, it's the end of the line, you know? And even under the best of circumstances, it's a short career. And so when it finally was over, in some ways, you never can quite prepare for it because it becomes who you are. It becomes what you love more than anything else in the world. And even though logically you can understand, you know, I'm 36 years old, I had an injury, it's time to end. You say, well, wow, could I do it one more time? Can I get one more championship? I don't think anybody really voluntarily retires. You're either too old or you're injured. And but there's a lot of life, and you don't know it at the time, but there's a lot of life to live, and you have a lot more to give back. And I felt like, you know, I had a really great privilege of playing here in New York. It's been my home as my entire adult life. And so what do you do with that? I wanted to go back and finish up the schooling that I had stopped in order to play in the Olympic team in '88. And hopefully you continue to grow. I got young kids and want to be an example for them. And, you know, I've been into the environment and a bunch of other things and say, well, is there a way of kind of reinventing yourself? And I'll always be a hockey fan. I coach my son. I coach when I was back at school. I helped out with Yale University. And, you know, I'm a fan, so I'll stick around the game. And where that takes me, I don't know. But right now I'm enjoying myself. I have a business going, and I'm looking in the renewable energy space. And it's been an education. It's been really interesting. But you try to take the discipline and some of the habits of excellence that you learned over the course of your entire life playing one sport and apply them to other aspects of your life.
Mike Richter, thank you for the time.
Thank you very much.
Mike Damergis reporting from Last Licks and Steiner Sports in Scarsdale.